So, hi and welcome everyone. We are now going to discuss some self-sabotaging tendencies of independent practitioners which prevent us from getting new clients. Okay, and I'm going to hook up a presentation and I'm going to discuss with you what these tendencies are. Okay, here we go. All right, so Ritu, who is there in the Ritu Anand Vishwakarma, would you like to share your background on chat? Use the chat option. Okay. Now, the past few days, I've been writing about how the legal market has changed, legal services market in the past 20 years, and 5 unconventional skill sets that independent practitioners must develop to survive. You can find my YouTube videos also on YouTube to be able to reconnect with that aspect. Okay, now today let's look at the 5 beliefs that are self-sabotaging and prevent us from getting our own clients. Okay, so this is the first one. How will building my track record by writing articles, building my website, and being active on social media lead to client generation? This is basically questioning the idea of that if I promote myself online, if I do work online, this is going to help. Okay, I need more evidence before I can start this kind of work. I want concrete evidence, who has got clients, how they have done this. Okay, now when I speak to independent lawyers, this is what they keep saying. We tell them something to do and they say that, how will this help me, how will this help me? And it's almost like what they want is that, if I write 2 articles, then I should get 2 clients and I should get it in 1 week only, then I will be convinced that this method works. Okay, but this method is not going to work like that. That's not how building a track record works. So what one needs to do is that you will need to write consistently at least 1 article per week, okay, over a period of 3 to 4 months. Okay, build your website and be active on social media for this period. So 3 to 4 months is a longish time for consistent activity. We aren't used to doing something by design consistently without seeing results for this kind of period. Okay, but if you do it for a longer period, of course, you'll be able to create a larger track record. But with this much, you will be able to see that clients' incoming queries start coming to you. You may not get a direct paid client unless you implement some more tools. I'll talk about those additional tools as well. But what will happen for you is that you will start getting, let's say, a couple of messages in your LinkedIn from somebody who wants assistance with a few contracts or who wants to give a retainer. That kind of message will come in your inbox, which will tell you that this effort is having some result. Okay, now there is absolutely no other way to experience this except by starting out and maintaining this over a period of time. The problem is that sometimes doing this work requires us to develop additional skill sets, like writing for an audience. Like writing a client focused article is not something we are usually uh, used to doing. Okay, we have written, let's say as lawyers, we'd have written a client memo, we'd have drafted a petition or a contract for court. Okay, but we are not used to writing a simplified client focused article. Okay, if you look at the blog or the IPDA's blog online, you will see some of the articles that have been very popular. Okay, are how do I get a foreign loan? Okay, and it was written 8 or 10 years back. We still get emails from people saying that, okay, I am doing this kind of business. How do I get a foreign loan? Can I get a foreign loan for this? Who can help me? Can you connect me with someone? Can you do it? Okay, or there's an article online on how to file a cyber complaint. Okay, with the how to file a cyber complaint. Now that one is so popular, it's got tens of thousands of views, and sometimes the police inspector calls us if the number or the address of a police station of a cyber cell in a state changes. Okay, so now you have to think that, okay, why? Because they consider that this is like a directory and people will be searching for it and then they will come to us. Okay, so they want the information to be accurate. Now when you're writing a client focused article, there will be some new kind of skills you will develop. You will learn how to write in a simple language and also pick up issues. Okay, so that learning, sometimes you don't want to do that, and then it feels like, okay, let me first see more evidence of whether this will work. But the real point is that you must do this for 3 to 4 months learn the skill, practice it for some time, and then only you will find some results. Once you've done this for a period of a year or so, you will see that even if you slow down activity a little, then also the incoming inquiries keep coming. But at that point, you will not want to slow down, because you know why? You've already seen and tested the method and you've got proof. So after that, you will continue. Okay. So this is something to know. And I'm going to give you some examples also. Okay. So independent practitioners who have actually now, who have successfully done this. Okay. One example is 𝗀𝗶𝗰𝗁𝗁𝗁 expert. Um, she's frequently there in the news for different kinds of issues. She was mentioned for quotes on GDPR, various other areas around internet and the law. Okay. Or 𝗳𝗶𝗁. Now, so 𝗀𝗶𝗁 had pursued a program with us, and where she had asked us for some inputs back in 2012, and we said you should be writing articles and on what you do. And she started to implement this advice. And when she started to do that, her friends, her neighbors, people in her community came to know what she does. They started giving her work. And also then she worked on building a profile for herself. So then she started getting more work. Okay. Or 𝗳𝗶𝗁𝗁, who was my junior, and he started a gambling laws blog in the first year of law school. Okay, that time I was graduating, and he has been writing on that, and this has become a very, very famous blog. And there were a number of inquiries he got. Okay, so he quit his top law firm job in a few months of after graduating, because of the kind of traction that his independent work had gathered. And he is an independent consultant at the moment. If you check his LinkedIn profile, you will find that. So he wrote his first blog post in 2010. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to take you 8 years, okay, but I'm saying that these people have been doing it for so long, and they started experiencing results in a very quick period of time. Like, the first set of results was experienced by Jay, in about 3 or 6 months of his starting to write. There were people saying that, okay, we are looking at starting a gaming business in India. What is the law? What's the legal framework? What can we do? What can we not do? And he was still in the first year, and we were in the 5th year. Okay, so traction, he got traction in about 3 months. So it doesn't take very long. Okay, now so this is what you've got to focus on. Now, for the first few incoming inquiries, you will realize that sometimes people just ask you for a retainer quote, that give me a retainer quote, this is the legal work I have. Okay, and after you furnish the quote, you might find that the client is not reverting. That doesn't mean that your article writing or your profile building effort is not working. That just means that there is some more things to do before the person who gave you the query can actually decide whether to pay you for the work. Okay, so that's basically that you don't know how to translate an incoming query into paid work. So your article writing has still worked. Okay, some people, what they do is that they start questioning their article writing efforts at the time that they're incoming, when the client doesn't agree to give them the matter. But no, the test of whether your article writing is working is, did you get someone asking you questions? Did people reach out to you? Did someone message you in your inbox and say that I have this problem? Okay, and these are often not simply academic doubt clearing messages. People say that, okay, this is what I'm doing and I need some help. Okay, so what is the reason that people fail to translate that is because they need a separate exercise in addition. That's an onboarding process. An onboarding process needs to be implemented. And what happens is that people send a quote when you are uninitiated. You may send a quote without properly understanding what's the need of the client, what does he value most. Okay, because that's what you will provide and that's what you will charge for. You can't provide everything at a dirt cheap price. Okay, so you, if you, without asking all those questions, without figuring all of that out, if you send a quote, you will run the risk of making mistakes on 3 counts. One, you may be charging too much. Second, you may be focusing on the wrong problem. Maybe the client wants to minimize one risk, but you are offering a different solution. Okay, or you may be over promising. Okay, you may be saying that I'll do everything possible even outside your competence, and this actually makes people scared to give retainer quotes, because they're like, I don't know what he wants and I cannot do everything. So that's why it's an important thing to narrow down on this. Okay, and we'll discuss more about this later, but let's look at what is the tendency that takes over for us. we get gripped by this thought. See on the left, I need professional sales and marketing staff to convert incoming queries into paid client mandates so that I can focus on delivery work. This is what happens. So the first step was I need more evidence before I can start. The second step is that, okay, I started, I got a query, but that didn't work out. So I need professional sales and marketing staff to convert my incoming queries into paid clients. Now, that's not going to happen. Do not think about it. Okay, if you want a professional to help you out like that, then independent practice is not for you. You should be working in a job where someone else, which is usually the senior partners, are responsible for getting the work. Okay, or work with a senior, or work as an in-house counsel in a company, because the work is there, or somebody else is going to get the work, and you're only wanting to work on delivery. But if you don't want that life and you want to build your own name, your own clients, your own niche, okay, then you will need to learn client building, because you are the best person, the best advocate, the best evangelist for your own law practice. And you will need to learn the art of obtaining clients. There is help available if you are unable to figure that out. But right now we are dealing with the idea that, can you get professional sales staff? No. So don't waste any time thinking that I need to get this kind of sales staff before I can get my own clients. No. Okay, that skill has to be developed by you, even if it takes some time. Okay. And remember this, that as an independent practitioner, your work day is going to look a lot different from what it looks like in a job. Because in a job, you step in and you're like working for 10 hours, 12 hours, 16 hours on the client work that you've got. Okay, but in independent practice, you will divide your work over 3 or 4 kinds of tasks. One will be on client development, another will be and building your credibility. Then it will be on client servicing. Then there will be some time on admin work. There will be some time you will spend on improving processes and automation. So these are the 4 broad heads, and out of that, your credibility, building your credibility and client development work is easily going to take 30 to 40% of your working time. So if you are assuming that you work for 200 hours in a month, so if you're working for about 10 hours in a day for 5 days a week, that's 50 hours. Okay, and multiplied by 4 weeks approximately, that's 200 hours, right? So 200-hour working month is a very reasonable number to think of. So out of that, 60 to 80 hours, you can imagine, by the clock to be put into this. Now, what people do is they expect that my 190 hours will be spent on delivery, and 10 hours I will do some client development work, and then they don't get results because nothing happens. So you're going to be focusing on 60 to 80 hours of client development work. This is unpaid work. Okay, when you get a client, the goal will be that the amount you can charge your client from the delivery work there will compensate for the effort taken. Okay, and you don't have to charge a lot to a client to compensate for your client development effort. I'll tell you how. Okay, but first, just understand this, that this exercise is not unproductive. And if you've used to be working in a job earlier, then it may feel like that. Okay, and don't get carried away by the thought that this is unproductive. And ask yourself this: whom will I provide services to, and how will I earn a survival income if I don't have clients in the first place? So I can't spend 190 hours on delivery when I have no client work, right? So in law firms, in any big organization, you'll see that every successful law firm partner has, or litigator has, spent enough time focusing on client generation activity. And you will need to do the same. The returns will be very fulfilling. And if you need any assistance, I am inviting you to join me on November 27th in a 3-hour workshop, 7 to 10 p.m., where I'll discuss how to onboard and nurture new clients. So we'll discuss client development. Then after you do some initial efforts for client development, you get incoming queries, how to nurture them into paid clients, how to identify services, what kind of value to offer, how to negotiate fees, all of that. Okay, so basically the goal is how you can be your own marketing or salesperson, and you will do this legally. Okay, not going to make you solicit clients and all of that. No, this will be within the confines of the law. Okay, and then the third challenge that comes. So after the thought that I need professional sales and marketing stuff, the third challenge that we think of is I don't know how to charge clients more. How can I offer new services without training with a senior? I didn't specifically learn this in college. I didn't specifically work on this when I was working in a law firm. Okay, so don't you think I need training? And who's better than a senior to train me? Now, again, the problem becomes that some of the practice areas are actually very new. Okay, you could look at IBC. Now IBC still has a lot of judgments in it, but you can look at white collar crime. Okay, recent practice areas, but even IBC, RERA, all these statutes are around 2016. They were legislated. Okay, so you can learn some amount of litigation because people have done that before, but learning about the specific area of law and the service that a client needs to be provided, that cannot be learned from a senior alone because the practice itself is new. Okay, so depending on that is a big problem because you will then have to forego 2 to 3 years of training with the senior. By then, practice will change again. So you decide to be independent after 3 years. You will realize, oh my God, there is something else I need to know. And now I'm not trained for this. Now I need another senior. Okay, so you will have to catch up right away and not wait for the years to pass. Okay, again, I am saying that help is available if needed. You can learn on the side. You need to have a group of mentors who can guide you. Okay, but you don't need to be doing a job with a senior and expect to learn. And because if you're expecting a senior to be training you, then also you cannot expect that they will also remunerate you for the kind of income you need. Okay, and you will lose out. I'll tell you on what you will lose out on: the opportunity to innovate, because a client today may need something else and your senior may not be providing that. So you will want to serve a particular kind of client, but you'll end up working with a senior who serves a different client. So the training you want, there's a high likelihood of mismatch also, and you will lose time. Okay, so the question is that you do not need to go about training with someone specifically. You need to get started with independent practice. You can learn how to deliver the services and provide them. Now, the main problem that people have at this stage is some people are clueless and they don't start. Other people are usually starting with very, very basic services. Okay, what are these services? Like they would do trademark search, company incorporation work, tax registration work, return filing work. Okay, NDAs. Now, the problem with this work is that it is too generic. Everybody in the market does. And if you're doing this work, then what's going to happen is two things. One is you will not be able to get the high value work, and you will always end up in a price war with some other lawyer. And you won't know about the other lawyer, but the client, you will always end up in a price war with the client. And the client will say that I can go to another lawyer who's offering this for cheap. You will have Vakil Search or India Filings offering rock bottom prices for these kind of services. Okay, legal fees, for some of them go as low as 500 rupees. Okay, and then people are pulling their hair apart saying that what do I do? How do I charge more? Clients are very frustrating. They keep negotiating. So now the thing is that, and over time, what happens is that you will not be even excited by the idea that I got a new client, because you'll be like, again, there is a lot of labor to be done. I can't charge much, and the client will haggle with me. Okay, so how do you alter that? Okay, you will feel that again that you've hit a dead end. So I have some good news for you. If you feel that, how many of you have experienced that before? If you have, then what's the good news? The good news is this, that once you obtain a new client, there are two categories of services. Initial services, which are just to obtain the client. Sometimes they want assistance on basic work, like we discussed, company incorporation, trademark registration, tax registration, and all of that. But after that, okay, your goal will be to provide services of increasing value over time. Now, this is where people get stuck, because they don't have new services, complicated services, high value services which clients demand. They struggle. Okay, so now I'll just tell you how to go about this, and I will give you some examples. But for now, just understand, if you can give high value services you can charge 30,000 for 10 hours of work or 15 hours of work for. Okay, where a client cannot negotiate because you're the only one giving that quality of work. Okay, you will be able to charge more. You will face lesser competition. It will create more stickiness. The client will prefer to work with you. and you also have a higher opportunity to create client satisfaction because there isn't any competitor or enough competitors in the market. If a big law firm does it, they'll do it for maybe 2 lakhs. Okay, so that is going to be your advantage. Now, what are the high value services and how do I arrive at them? Think about the following questions. What work can you do in 10 hours and charge 30,000 to a client? This is not a very expensive sum. It's a reasonable sum at 3,000 rupees per hour. Okay. What kind of work will save the client lakhs of rupees in future costs? Which services are important for various clients but cannot be provided by other lawyers easily? These are the questions, okay, to think of. And I'll give you some examples of some of these services. Okay, now consider, for example, a GDPR audit. Now, what is happening is Indian service providers who are selling software, basically Indian software providers who have international clients and also clients in Europe. Their European clients are saying that this is B2B software, okay, business to business software. So their clients in Europe are saying that can you please conduct an audit of the a GDPR audit of the software, because your software is containing data of EU residents to which GDPR is applicable, and the foreign EU client is the data controller, and you, the Indian software provider, is the data processor, and he has to give some audit report so that the European client can discharge his or her legal obligations. Okay. Now, for this kind of service, you don't have enough Indian lawyers providing it. Okay, this becomes a problem. Now, foreign lawyers charge 5,000 to 6,000 euros. This is equivalent to 5 lakh rupees. Okay, if an Indian client, even if they are doing very profitably, will not be able to pay this. And primarily the service cost is so high. Why? Because of the arbitrage issue. The conversion charge of euro is very, very high, because of which 5 lakh rupees amounts to, because of which 5,000 euros amounts to 5 lakh rupees. In India, if you have to provide the same service, it will probably cost 50, 60,000. Okay. Now, the question is this, that can you provide this service? Okay, can you provide this service, or can you learn how to provide it also? Okay, I'll give you some other examples also. Now, consider initiation of arbitration proceedings by an Indian company. This Indian company is your client. Okay, and these proceedings are to be initiated against a foreign party for breach of the terms of a technology integration agreement. These are frequently executed contracts in the tech space. Okay, but what is being initiated is arbitration. Now, arbitration is to be conducted by Singapore International Arbitration Center under UK law through virtual hearings. I've given you more facts. Usually these also have to be dug out by the lawyer for the client. But now the question is, can you assist your client with this? Okay. So if you're a corporate lawyer or contracts lawyer, sometimes the challenge is that not knowing how to work on another area of law. How do I work on arbitration proceedings? How do I do international commercial arbitration? I know domestic arbitration, but I don't know international commercial arbitration. Most of the times the issues, I know contracts, but I don't know disputes. Okay, so you will say that, and then the practice areas are like, you say that and create a divide. Okay, but actually it's a solution a client wants, but you will say, no, I don't do disputes, I do contracts. However, what's happening now, because of the complexity of work, sometimes even there are different practice areas are converging at certain points. These convergence points are very, very promising. If you do this work, for example, you could charge your client well. Now, most lawyers say that I am not qualified to practice in a foreign jurisdiction. And the thing is that is not even an issue here, because there are only very specific proceedings in an international commercial arbitration which you need to take in a foreign court, okay, for which you may need a local lawyer. But a lot of the background research, the strategy, and a lot of the work in the arbitration proceeding, the Indian lawyer can also do. But what does the Indian lawyer say? I have not done this, I'm not experienced, I don't know how to do this. But this is where the demand is, this is where the need is, this is where the money can be charged also. Okay, so that's what you got to think, that how can I do this work? Okay, I'm giving you more examples. These are some of the easier ones. Consider filing an appeal before the ITAT or a writ before the High Court in a high-profile international tax matter. It's very easy now to run into international tax matters because a lot of services that any business obtains are cross-border. Okay, if you might be doing some advertising on LinkedIn ads and run a bill of say 10 lakhs, or Facebook ads, or you may be paying your email service provider lakhs of rupees. Okay, there are many such cross-border transactions where issues can arise. Okay, now the question is, tax authorities have disallowed certain expenses. They say a particular requirement wasn't followed and therefore this expense is not allowable. Okay, and you need to challenge this. Now, if you will run to a tax lawyer, that's a different thing. But in a lot of cases, you'll not be able to even identify that this is a necessity. And even if you manage to go, you will have to be involved in the whole briefing work and following the facts, understanding the law, and then you can go to a local lawyer or who does tax work, or you could yourself also do this. Okay, at least going before the ITAT or the CIT appeals, you may be able to do that work. Clients need that. Clients, when they trust you, they don't say that, okay, you don't do this work, I want someone else. That's only at the first step when they've not given you any matter. Once they've given you a matter, you've done some, got them some results, then they don't mind if you do legal work in other areas also for them. Okay, another requirement, consider having to draft a software development agreement on an agile model. This is agile model and waterfall model are two techniques in which software agreements are created. Okay, now some client says that draft this, and you say I do corporate commercial work. Now this one you may not be able to do. You say I'll not do tech work, but you can't afford to do all of that. As an independent practitioner, these are the cream of the areas to work on. Okay, another example. What if you have to file an information before the Competition Commission of India because a big player in the market is incentivizing distributors to not sell your client's product to its customers? Okay, to not sell your client's product. So that's what the big guy is doing. And you don't know what to do, and then you're smart, you say, okay, let's go to the CCI and I'll do the work. Okay, that's the kind of work you want to learn. Or there is a inspection being conducted by labor authorities and the client is freaking out and they are saying that, listen, this time there was a big mess, you help us now, but in future help us to be prepared to handle such issues. Alternately, what if you want to initiate an IP raid against a potential infringer of your client's IP? How do you do that? So these kind of situations I've identified based on the commonly faced problems, okay, of today's industry. And for these problems, they frequently come to independent practitioners who are consulting them and they get a no. Okay, so if you only stick to the low end of the value chain, your client generation effort won't work out. If you stick to the high end of the value chain, it's a different story also. Now, for now, are you confident in taking up such work? Do you want to learn how to identify even more such services? Why do you need to learn this and why can't you refer to others? Now the question, because you need to be your client's go-to lawyer, someone they can approach, right? So if you refer it to somebody else and if they make a mistake, it comes on you. Okay, there are a few things you will be able to miss. You will not be able to charge for it. The client will say that the person you referred to was incompetent. You will not be able to control the quality and therefore you can't control the outcome. Okay, these are the problems of referring work. However, even if you get a referral fee, okay, I know that referral fees are not legal and people still take that on the side or they use it as a billing fee. But still, I am saying that, even if you take a referral fee, you don't have the work output in your control. What is better? You get 100% of the fee, do the work and charge a premium. Okay, that is a better way to do this. Okay, now, so referring may not be the best idea, but learning this is a great idea. Now, are you confident in taking up such work and do you want to learn how to do this? There may be some learning that you need to do. Okay, but if you learn how to deliver such services, you will find fulfillment in the hard work put in to acquire new clients. Why? Because once you obtain a new client, you have a bouquet of services to offer. So they'll obviously hop on through a cheaper service like your trademark registration or incorporation or maybe some free training you've done. But over time that you will get value for your time and expertise because you have a number of other services to offer. So that makes your client acquisition journey fulfilling. Okay, what that also does is that you don't have to worry about negotiating too much on the low-end services costs. You can invest more in client acquisition, so you can outmatch the other lawyers who do only low-end work and who do it for cheap. And you can even do it at a cheaper cost than them at a loss also, because it enables you to offer the more high-value services to clients. So it will not hurt you, right? Sorry. Yeah. Now so We've discussed this. Now, just remember this, that there may be a knowledge gap currently between where you are and what you need to be, so that your idea or vision of being an independent practitioner who can thrive in the market is fulfilled. But you cannot afford to depend here on an ad hoc approach to learning. That is, learning how to perform the work after being briefed by the client first, after getting the advance. No, this work doesn't work like that. Okay, you need to know the services, how to deliver before you can make an effective approach to a client. Otherwise, a client will sense in a call very easily that you don't know what you're doing properly, or that you're beating around the bush, and they will walk away without any explanation. You'll have no idea what happened. But the actual thing is that you were not prepared. Okay. Now the fourth one is a very serious one. I did not sign up for performing this kind of work when I decided to become a lawyer or when I started independent practice. So I did not sign up for this, basically. That's the idea. Okay. Now this is a wave of idealism. Literally, an idealistic principle keeps hitting you from time to time. Okay. Why does this happen? Because it may happen because you imagined life as a lawyer to be very different when you grew up or when you were studying in law school. You might have watched Suits or Boston Legal or some movies where you believed law practice to be of a certain nature. Okay. So I'll give you some examples when this wave of idealism hits. Okay. When you're building your online presence, you'll be like, oh, I wasn't trained to do this in my law school or in my law firm. I resent having to do this on a regular basis. If you are tracking your Excel sheets and tracking performance, revenues, clients, all of that, you will feel that, my God, why do I have to do this? This is outside my comfort zone. I should just have to do legal work. Then when you are looking at, okay, can I negotiate? What is the fee that I need to negotiate with clients? Do I have enough margins or not? You might feel that these tasks are unproductive, and you may occasionally feel that, was this the right decision? Should I return to my job? You may despise working on client development and client acquisition altogether. Okay, that this is not what I'm trained to do. And you may feel that real lawyering happens only in the courtroom. You may long for the opportunity to stand in a court and argue before the judges. This is the only true way of real lawyering that I have known, right? That's a thought that comes. Okay. Now, if you grew up watching Alan Shore of Boston Legal or some movie, or even if you saw, people of the earlier generation, your parents, uncle, relatives, people you knew, okay, in your life, and the way they built up their career, the kind of respect they enjoyed, you may feel that, how is my effort connected to that, and will I ever get there? Okay, so the current tasks that you're performing will give you a different image, will not align to the image you have of what the outcome looks like. But these people built their careers in a different time, and it was suited to a different market. The market is different today. Okay. Now, every independent practitioner faces these feelings. I faced these even when I started working on legal education 9 years back. Okay. So that's not an issue. Now, you need to recognize that in 2020 is going to be very different from how one had to establish themselves as a lawyer in 1990s or early 2000s. Okay, and your journey will also be different from your peers who are working at law firms or junior litigators or in-house counsels. Okay, because you may see that, okay, they are earning a very high salary and they're doing this work, but I am doing a different kind of work. But trust me, this is only the initial phase. 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and you will be able to see significant leaps in progress if you focus on the knowledge, skill acquisition, and you do the work of acquiring clients. Trust me, very quickly you will be able to cover that gap, and you will notice that your learning curve is very high. And in a short period and in over like 1 or 2 years, you will see that your peers are starting to respect you. So this emotion that I'm talking about, or this feeling I'm talking about, is pertaining to the initial phases of starting your practice. You will work a lot more in comparison to anybody else, in comparison to your peers, on identification of new services, creation of a track record, creation of your brand name, client pitches and proposals, conversions, fee negotiations, than your peers, okay, who work with seniors or at a law firm. But after a few years of work, you'll be able to notice the big progress you've made from who you were and who you've become. And the best part is, you don't have to wait till then to be able to have a good income. You can do that. That will start from a very early stage. Okay. Now, what you need to think about is this first. because the idea of what you signed up for and what real lawyering means to you will keep haunting you again and again. So what you need to do is you need to realign your values a little bit. Okay, so can you be excited by providing an innovative service to a client? Does obtaining a yes or a go ahead from a client who was earlier questioning your expertise, shooting down your fees, okay, but is now convinced due to higher demonstration of value by you, does that give you a kick? Does obtaining a retainer from your first client, would that give you satisfaction? Okay. Does setting new goals, working on meeting your revenue targets, even crossing them, and setting new standards for your practice on a month-on-month basis excite you? Okay. Now these are a different set of tasks from the earlier ones, right? But does that excite you? Do you feel excited to think about the idea that 10 years down the line, you would have built up a leading practice in the industry? You will be mentioned everywhere. People will look up to you as a pioneer in the area, in your area of interest. Okay. And you'd have grown exponentially on the personal and professional front. Does that idea excite you? Okay. These achievements will give you unprecedented feelings of competence. You'll feel purposeful and also you'll feel secure. But you will have to realign your values, okay? That it's not about just analysis of legal provisions, making a brilliant argument in court. It's not about just that. Although that also will be a part of this. Once in a while, you may have an opportunity to argue in the court yourself in a big matter, okay? That will keep happening, but still this other work continues. And you don't have to depend only on those values that I will only argue in court. I will not do anything else, okay? You don't have to depend on that. Now, okay. Now the question that frequently bothers us: can I rewire my mind at this age to be excited by the idea of new legal services and hitting new revenue and growth targets? Because look, while I was growing up, thinking of being a lawyer, even thinking of starting out my independent practice, I wasn't really looking at this. I was looking at, that's the thought that comes, right? I was looking at being there in court or being respected, having a great tag. So I'm going to give you a perspective that may help you again in appreciating the situation better. The role of a lawyer has always only been to deliver services involving use of legal skills to solve a client's problems. Whether it is going to court or drafting a contract, you were just doing that, okay? Solving a client's problem involving the use of law. Today, market economy has become more complex. Business has become more complex. So apart from you will use the law, and the solutions you provide may be very different from just going to court or just drafting a contract. Sometimes you prepare a strategy note. Sometimes you prepare a step chart to show what are the steps in which you take a certain action. Sometimes you prepare a roadmap for a client. A lot of different things you will be preparing. Sometimes you prepare a process. Sometimes you review a workflow. Sometimes you review a TV show script. A lot of things will be different, but you're involving use of legal skills. So don't let that shake you from your current work. Okay. So going to court today has been the last step for most things, and clients need help before from lawyers. Okay, now you can't represent your clients in court if there are not enough matters to argue, and you can't you can't say that I will only go to court when they first need advice from you for running their business, for structuring it. So would you want to actually ignore all this work and tell a prospective client that, okay, you have work right now, but I'm not skilled enough to do this. But when your work goes to the court or the tribunal, you can come to me. Now, what's going to happen is the client is going to find someone else for the job today. And the client will also know that I'm not going to go to this lawyer no matter what happens. Okay, because of a non-business minded approach that the lawyer has. Okay, so would that justification be acceptable to you for refusing to take up work that's already available in the market? Would you be comfortable losing these opportunities? Okay, so it may not be very helpful for you in the long term to stick to a fixed image of legal practice. So what else can you do? Provide the services that clients want at this point in time. If you try to visualize your practice from this perspective, in 3 to 4 months, you will be able to look at your practice in a different way. The fifth one, okay? Clients demand too much, ask for service free of cost, and walk away when I give them a quotation from my legal services. Now, this thought arises because you are not using rejection to identify how to improve your own skills and how to improve your client onboarding process. Okay, now you should understand what's the single biggest accelerator in your journey as an independent lawyer. Okay, it is the volume, it is the learning that you can have from the rejections that you face. Okay, this is a powerful indicator of where improvement is needed. When you face a rejection, you will know that, okay, if I could improve this, I can be better next time. With the best onboarding process also, you will have at best a conversion rate of 20% or so. So 8 out of 10 inquiries will be rejected while 2 will convert into paying clients. As an independent practitioner, you want to deal with rejection in a specific way and you don't want to deal with it in other ways. Okay, so one, you can't afford to get disheartened. You can't slow down because of rejection. Okay, your goal will be what? Generate more incoming inquiries, so that the 20% that I get will give me a sizable pipeline of new clients. Okay, that is one. So with 20% effectiveness, how do I get enough inquiries? So I will increase the volume of activity to get more inquiries. Also, I must specify, what is the learning that I can take? I must improve the list of services and I must improve the onboarding process. And I must learn how to deliver new services. These are the 3 things that I must keep in mind from every rejection. Okay. What may have gone wrong, and then work on fixing the gaps. The gaps will be around this only. There may have been a service I didn't think of. There may be some work I don't know how to do, so I didn't propose it to the client. I didn't bring value on the table, or I didn't onboard the client properly. I didn't identify what was important to the client. Okay, all those things will give you a sense of what could be improved, and you will see that with time your conversion rate improves. Okay, now at this point, most young lawyers give up. Okay, and now the other thing is that there's direct rejections and there's indirect, which is not a rejection. There are indirect objections that you face from time to time. So, and these can appear to be like attacking on your self-worth. What are these objections that I'm talking about? So let's see. Why should we give you the matter when another firm is there or a lawyer is there willing to do it for a cheaper rate? What's the additional value that you would provide us? How many years of experience do you have as a lawyer? How many such transactions have you worked on earlier? Why can't you do it for half the price? Okay, every prospective client is likely to ask one or more such questions. Okay, now this is the objection handling that you need to do, and you will be more powerful at it if you are working more on your onboarding process, on your credibility, all of that. Then you will be more powerful with this. Now, how can you achieve a breakthrough from these self-sabotaging processes? I'm going to do a 3-hour workshop on building a recession-proof practice. I'm just opening this on screen for you on 27 November, 7 to 10 p.m. That's Friday, 7 to 10 p.m. There's a special one-time price of 100 rupees available right now. You can go there and join it, where we will discuss a lot of exciting aspects. We'll discuss how to translate incoming client queries into paid client mandates, how to transition clients from low-end services to higher value services. You will also learn how to create new services for clients that others don't offer. So unique services, how do you do that? Okay, you will be able to charge more for these services. And even if you don't have experience of working in a particular practice area or serving a particular kind of client, you will discover a way that how you can acquire accelerated learning in that area. Okay, that you will discover and access to. Okay, so that you can provide new services to clients literally on demand. That you figure out that a client may need this, let me just create it and offer. Okay, we will also perform some mocks where we'll do a mock negotiation on what to do if a potential client is questioning your experience or questioning your credibility or negotiating with you on pricing. So these questions that I asked you, why should I give you the work? Why can't you do it for half the money? What is the experience we have? So we'll do mocks on that for your service so that you can handle a few objections from a potential client. Okay, and at the end we'll give you an assignment to deploy these tools into your own practice. Now, the thing is that, is this method proven? What is the results that we've got? Okay, I have this to say in that once you practice this process for a time, for a certain amount of time, you will experience the results, and the self-sabotaging thought processes will gradually start disappearing. Okay, this method has worked for us while designing training for large companies, legal training for meeting their legal needs, like ICICI Bank, ITC, Embassy Office Parks, and Advaita Legal. Okay, so large companies and law firms, we've been able to help them with their training requirements. Earlier, it was a lot more difficult because we didn't have a very smooth onboarding process for businesses. For individual customers, we had, but not for businesses. It also worked extremely well at ClickLawyer, which was a legal solutions venture, which achieved a monthly revenue run rate of 8 lakhs per month or 1 crore annual run rate in 6 months in 2015. Now, several litigators and independent practitioners already who are studying our courses are using this method successfully to increase their income, do different types of work, and to get more clients. Now, if you implement this method consistently, I can assure you that you will be able to generate 2 new clients every month in 2 months and earn a supplementary income of INR 2 lakhs per month in 6 months' time. You will be able to create that, but you have to follow the method consistently. What is the method? We'll discuss that in the workshop. So if you want to know more, you can proceed to the workshop page and you can register here. Okay, you will have to click here and you'll have to enroll now, and it'll ask you your email and it'll send you an OTP, and then you'll make the payment and it'll register. And then we'll add you to a WhatsApp group and we'll intimate you about the session, and you can come from 7 to 10 p.m. All right, so I'm going to stop screen sharing and I'm going to discuss the questions that you all have shared with me. So here we go. Pavitran, I'm not clear about your question on the chat box, and I'm going to open the Q&A window. Okay, some of them were in the Q&A window. How can I judge a crime investigation by the power of law? How can I write article against the crime? I'm not very clear what your question means. If you want to write about a particular act that is committed without naming the person and all of that, you can write about what is the malpractice, how to collect evidence for it, how to prosecute the person, what kind of services are required to be provided by lawyers to defend the person, or for the complainant also, or for the complainant side, what is the service to be provided. That way you can do, okay? But I don't know what your question is, so you will need to ask separately, like, to clarify. So any other questions and feedback, everybody? So how can you apply this if you're a law students, if you're considering starting independent practice, or you're already an independent practitioner? Can you share a few ways with me on how you can apply this? And I'm going to stop the live stream now, and we can continue to the Q&A.